Hey everyone and welcome to the channel. Are you ready to build a portfolio website that will truly impress? In this tutorial, we are going to create this stunning personal portfolio from scratch. You will learn how to showcase your work and skills with modern responsive design. We will be using Next.js for blazing fast performance, Tailwind CSS for beautiful and easy styling, and framermotion for smooth animation that will make your portfolio stand out. We will cover everything from setting up your project to make a deployable portfolio. So, if you want to build portfolio that gets you noticed, grab your code editor and let's get started. Let's create a project. So here create a new folder and name this folder Spotify, or it is the name of the project. And then after creating this folder, drag this folder to the Visual Studio Code. And now maximize this Visual Studio Code and here open the terminal, and within terminal specify command npx create next app at latest and then dot slash. This command will initialize Spotify directory with Next.js and then hit enter. Now when you initialize a directory with Next.js, it is going to ask a couple of questions. First thing asks, you want to use TypeScript? So here say yes. Do you want to use the ESLint? Yes. Also want to use Tailwind CSS? Yes. Want to use src directory? No. Yes, we want to use this app writer, and then yes, and then no. And now wait for a few moments. It will initialize the Spotify directory with Next.js. If you see message like this success, which means we have successfully created the project using the Next.js. Now to verify it, in the command prompt or in a terminal, specify npm run dev to start the server and then hit enter. And as you can see here, it starts or runs this project on this localhost 3000. So let's go in the browser and here specify localhost 3000 and hit enter. And if you see a screen like this, which means the project is running successfully. Now let's go back to the Visual Studio Code and here go to this A folder and remove this favicon. So select this and remove. Now also we need to clean up or we need to remove some of the codes. Let's go to page.tsx and from here I'm going to remove everything from this return. Delete this and now simply here specify a simple text hello world. And now let's go in the browser and see, we can see here hello world text. Now let's go back and also within this global.css and remove everything from the root. And now let's go back and see. So as we can see, the background is white and there is a text hello world. Now let's go back to Visual Studio Code and install some of the dependency that will be required to build our portfolio website. So to install the dependency, specify here npm install, and the first dependency is a framermotion, and we will use this dependency to apply an animation effect. And then we have the second dependency, it is a react icons, because we are going to use the some of the icons. And also one more dependency at hero icons / react, and then hit enter. It is going to install all these three dependencies. Now dependency installed successfully. To verify it, go to this package.json file and under the dependency section here you will see hero icons, framermotion and react icons. And after this, let's go to the browser and I'm going to open this browser side by side so that we can see the changes immediately. Okay, first thing, let's change the background color of the page. So here within the div, specify class name and specify min height screen. So when you say min height screen, this div takes the height of the viewport of the web page, or it takes the height of the visible area of the web page. And now We want to change the color to BG gray of 900. And as you can see, the color of the web page changes to BG gray 900. And now here we are going to create a navbar. So specify here component as a navbar, and we will create this component soon. And if you hover on it, you can see we get the error navbar is not defined because we have not created this navbar. So let's create this navbar. Go here within the root directory and create a new folder and name this folder components. And within the components, create a new file, and the file name is navbar.tsx. Let's create our navbar, and before creating navbar, first set up the color and themes of the website. So to set the color and themes of website, go to my GitHub repository, and I have given the link in the description. And then from here, choose the master branch, and then go to app, open the global.css file, and copy everything from here in this file, and go to your global.css project here in the app directory and paste everything here. And then again go to the repository and open this tailwind.config.ts file, and here under the theme, copy everything within the extent, and then after copying, come back to your project and paste everything under the theme of your project. So after doing all these things, let's create our navbar. And before creating navbar, let's see how our navbar looks on the desktop. So this is the portfolio that we are going to create, and you can see here this is the spinning logo with a name. Then we have a nav links and the social links. So let's create this navbar. Now go to this file, and from here remove everything and specify here nav tag like this, and here give a logo like a text, and then specify the class name, and the navbar will be fixed. So specify tailwind classes fix, and it is going to take a full width, so it is a w full, and then z index is a 50, which means it is above all the element on the screen or all the content on the web page. Now here you can see our navbar is not visible, but you can see the text. So here we need to give a background color, so specify here bz background, and now also give opacity of 50% like this, and then also apply a backdrop blur effect on this, and the size will be 2xl. And now you can see the navbar, and this navbar is fixed. Next, let's create a div container and give a class name, and within class name specify max width 7xl, which means it is going to set the maximum width of container to 1280 pixel. Then mx auto to center the container horizontally by setting the left and right margin to auto. Then padding of x is 6 and padding of y is 3. And under this div, let's create a one more div and give a class name, and here specify flags, then item center, then justify between. Now if you look at this logo, you can see this is the spinning logo. So let's create here a logo container, specify here a div and give a class name, and it is a relative, height of 8, width of 8, rounded full, and then overflow hidden. And now let's create the spinning gradient background. So for that, specify here div and give a class name, and here specify absolute, and then inset to 0, and then specify bg gradient to r from primary to tertiary to tertiary color. And then also specify animate spine slow to apply a custom slow spinning animation. And then let's apply the CSS mask image with a linear gradient. So specify here a square bracket and specify mask image, then colon linear gradient, and then bracket, and within this bracket specify transparent and white like this. So this is the spinning gradient background. And now let's create a inner circle. So specify here div and give a class name, specify absolute, then inset will be 2 pixel, and after this specify bg background, and then it is a rounded full, and then flags item center, justify center like this. So here you can see this is the spinning circle or spinning logo, and here we need a text. So specify here within the div, specify the span and give a class name, and in the class name specify font bold, and before this let's specify our logo name, which is the JS in this case. And you can see it is also moving. So this is the font bold, then bg gradient to R, and then from primary to tertiary color, and this color we have defined in our tailwind.config.ts, and then specify here bg clip text, and it clips the background to the text, making the gradient visible only within the text. Then specify text transparent like this. After that, outside of this div, create a name text using the span, and here specify the name as a John Smith like this, and then give a class name, and here font is a semi bold. Then set the text color to content with opacity of 90%, and then specify group hover, and then text primary, then specify text primary, which means it changes the text color to the primary color when the parent element with the group class is hovered. And after that specify transitions colors like this. We created this spinning logo, and here we need to apply the animation effect. If we look at this navigation bar, let's maximize it, and when we reload this page we can see this smooth animation, which means the navbar start off screen above the page. And let's reload it again, and you can see now it seems like it is coming from above the screen. So how we can achieve that? We can achieve that using the framermotion library. So let's do that and apply that effect to our navigation bar. Now go to at the top of the file and import motion from the framermotion. Now we need to wrap all of this navigation component within the motion.nav component, and for that we need to simply specify here motion dot like this. That's it. And now this motion.nav or motion.nav component accept properties that allow us to create an animation. So here we need to understand two important props. First is the initial prop, and the second is the animate props. Initial prop means the initial state of the animation, which means what will be the starting point of the animation. So in this case, we want to shift this navbar in vertical direction or in up direction to a specific pixel before it renders on the page. So For that, this initial accept a key value, and the key is the y, which represent the vertical direction of the animation, and we can specify here -100, which means at the beginning, before rendering, the position of the navbar will be off screen above the page around a -100 pixel. And then the second prop is the animate, which is the final state of the animation, which means this defines how the component will animate from this initial state. So in this case, we want to keep the y position to its original position, which is 0 in this case, because this 0 represent the final position like this you see on this page. After rendering this web page, we want to see this animation at the top or at its original position. So for that, we keep this y equal to 0. Now let's go here and reload this page, and you can see we get the error. To fix this error, at the top of the file specify use client directive like this, and now error gone. And let's reload this page, and as you can see the animation effect, the navbar is coming off screen above the page. As we reload this page, we can see it is coming very quickly. To make it slow or to make it smooth, here we need to apply a Tailwind classes like a transition all, then duration will be 300, and then ease out. And now again reload this page, and now we can see this navbar is coming from up direction in a smooth way. So this is how we can apply the animation effect using this motion component in the framermotion library. Now if we look at this logo, when we hover on it, it scales up. So for that, we need to also wrap our logo in the motion component. Let's do that. So before this div, we need to specify motion dot div like this, and then grab all this thing within from here within this, and also this one. Now let's apply the animation property. So here it has another property, and that property is a while hover. This means when we hover on it, it becomes large. So for that, we are going to use this while hover property, and then it accepts the key value scale, and then we want to scale it to 1.05 like this. Now let's hover on it, and you can see now it becomes large or it scale ups. Now let's apply the class name here. Class name flex item center, then gap of 2, and then specify group here like this, and let's hover on it. Now we achieve the same effect. So let's reload this page. We get this animation effect like it is coming from the up, and then when we hover on it, it scales up. Now next, let's create a desktop navigation. So this is how our desktop navigation looks. You can see this is the rounded box, and this box contains multiple navigation links. And also if you zoom it, you can see there is a little glowing at the bottom of this rounded box. So let's create this. Now scroll down, and below this motion.dev, create a new div for a desktop navigation, and in the class name specify hidden, which means it will be hidden on the small devices. Then on the large devices like a medium and greater than, it is going to flex, then item center, and gap of 6. Under this div, create a one more div and give a class name, and specify here flex item center, gap of 6, bg background with opacity of 80%, then padding x 4, and padding y is 2, and then rounded full border, and then border color is white with opacity of 5, and then also shadow lg, then shadow color will be primary with opacity of 5 like this. And now let's make this one little bigger to see the desktop navigation. We can see here we have a little rounded box here. So let's add the navigation link to this. For that, we will need to create a navigation items. So let's go to the top of the file, and here before the export default specify const nav items, and this is going to contains the array of navigation links. So here specify name, and the first navigation name will be projects, and then second the link of this navigation, so it is the hash projects like this, or you can specify work, then specify name, another link, and this is the skills link, and then href is a hatch skills, and also let's create a two more links, and this link is a experience, give href as a experience like this, and the last link is contact, and the href is hatch contact, and later you can replace this href with the real link. Okay, now let's come here within this dev, and here specify nav items, but it is not going to work, so specify here curly braces and specify nav items dot map, and then we're going to grab each items and also the index value, and then here specify a span, and within a span we are going to specify the name of the each of the navigation link, which is the items in this case, and then say items dot name like this. Also we need to specify the key props, so specify here key, and which is the items dot href like this, and let's make it bigger. And now here we can see projects, skills, and experience. All these are desktop navigation links. Now look at this navigation link, and you can see this link is not active. We want to achieve this kind of effect. When we hover on it, you can see it scales up and color changes to something blue. And this effect applies all these links within this rounded box you can see here. Also, you can see when you remove the cursor from the link, you can see it scales down. So we need to achieve this effect. How we can do that? We can do that using the framermotion component, and let's do that. So instead of here specifying span, we will give the name menu items, and this will be the component that we will create soon, and remove all this thing from here, and again specify key is equal to items dot name, then specify the index, which is equal to the current index of the item, and then specify the href, which is equal to items dot href like this. And let's create this menu item component. Go to the component folder, and within a component folder create a new file, and the file name is menu items like this. Now let's create a component menu item like this, and this is going to return the motion dot a, which represents the anchor tag or anchor link. So here we need to import this motion from the framermotion like this. Make sure to import this, otherwise you will get the error. And then here this menu item will accept the props. So the first props will be the children that is going to render, then second is the index, and third is the href. Also we need to specify its type because we are using TypeScript, so specify the types. So children of type react dot react node, then we have index of type number, then we have href of type string. Now after this, let's fix this error. Go to this navbar.tsx, and you need to import this menu item from the /menu item. Now the error is gone, and let's apply the class name. Specify here class name, and it is a relative, overflow hidden, padding of x2, padding of y1, and here specify span, and then render the children here like this. And now you can see the text or the nav links. Now to make this nav link active, in the span specify class name and give a text color as a content, with opacity of 80%, and on hover text color will be primary, and then specify transition colors like this. When you hover on any of the nav links, you can see the color changes to a text primary color. Now if you look at this navigation links, when we hover we can see it becomes large, and when remove the cursor from this link you can see it becomes small. So to achieve that, in this motion.a specify the property while hover. So which means when we hover we want to scale this to 1.0.5 like this. So let's go here, and when we hover on it you can see now it becomes bigger. Now also we can specify here while tap, and while tapping I want also scale down it to 0.95 like this. Okay, let's go here, and when you reload this page you can see this nav links appears one after other. You can see here there is a little delay between the appearance of the nav links. So I'm going to reload this page again, and you need to focus project skill experience how they appears. So here I'm going to reload this, and now you can see first project appear, then skills, then experience, then contact. So let's achieve this effect. So go here in the motion.a, specify initial state of the animation, which is equal to the opacity. So the initially the nav links will be invisible, which means they will not appear. So we set this opacity equal to 0, and also we are going to set the vertical direction equal to -20, which means initially the nav links will be off screen -20 pixel above the page or above this rounded button. And let's specify the final position of the animation using the animate props, and here after final position we want to make it visible, so we will specify the opacity equal to 1, and the final position will be 0 in a vertical direction, which means this will come to its original position. Now let's reload this page and see, and we can see it appears very quickly. So we need to control the delay or a transition. So for that, this motion.a component accept a property transition. Using this we can apply a transition, and here we want to make a delay between the nav links. So here specify delay value with index number. It is going to take the index of the nav links that we pass through the props, and then multiply with 0.1. Let's reload this page. Now you can see we achieved that animation effect. Also specify here duration. We want duration of 0.3, and then also specify ease as ease out like this. And now you can see this is the smooth nav links that appears one after other in a very smooth manner. Let's reload the page again, and now you can see it looks very beautiful. So let's also specify here href, which will be equal to the href that we pass through the props. And nicely we have created our menu item with an animation effect that you can see here. Okay, now after this menu item you can see we have this vertical bar. To create this vertical bar, just go to this div. You see this div, below this div create a one more div, and then specify class name, specify height of 6, width equal to px, and then bg white with opacity of 10%, and then mx equal to 2. Well, let's go and see, and now you can see this is the vertical bar or the line. And after this we need to specify this social links that you can see here. So here we have the GitHub and LinkedIn. Now let's create these social links. So below to this div, here create a new div and give a class name, and here specify flags gap of 4, and then within this div create a tag or a link, and to this link specify class name, and here specify p-2 rounded LG, then BG white with opacity of 5, then on hover BG primary with opacity of 10, like this, and then transition colors group like this. Here let's specify G for GitHub. Let's go here and see, and we can see tab. Here we will use the icons, and before that let's specify some of the props here, and the props is href, which is coming from the social links dot github, and we will create this one social links now. So let's go up, and below to this nav item create this social links, and it contains a GitHub, LinkedIn and Twitter with the link for that social platform. And now you can see here error is gone. To specify the social icon here, we need to create the social icon, and for that I have already created the social icons. So for that you can go to my Git repository, under the component open this social icon.ts and copy everything from here and come back to your code, and here go to the component folder, and in the component folder create a new file social icons.tsx and paste all the values here. Now let's come back to here navbar.tsx file, and instead of here z specify get hub icon like this, and this github icon is coming from the /social icon that we have created just now. And now here specify the class name, and height will be 5, width will be 5, then text color will be content with opacity of 80%, and then group hover and specify here text primary transitions color like this. Okay, now let's hover on this, and now we can see we get the same effect, but here you can see the color is not similar to this one when we hover on it. We will fix it. So let's fix that. Here instead of a primary we specify pretty, so remove this pretty and specify primary like this, and now hover on this. Now we get the color when we hover on the GitHub icon. Similarly, we need to create this LinkedIn social icon. So for that I'm not going to repeat all the code. I will just copy this a tag and below to this paste and change this to LinkedIn like this, and instead of here GitHub icon specify LinkedIn icon like this. Now you can see we have here social icons. We created beautiful desktop navigation. It's time to create a mobile navigation, and you can see here. So first on mobile devices we need this bars icon. So let's go at the top, and here we are going to use the hooks. So specify here const, and then within this specify is menu open, and then set is menu open like this, which is equal to use state hook from the React, and by default the value will be false, so specify here false like this. Now scroll down, and below to this div let's create a button, so specify here button like this, and this button will be the mobile menu button, and give a class name, and on a medium or larger screen it will be hidden, padding will be 2, rounded LG, then background will be white with opacity of 5%. On hover background will change to BG primary with opacity of 10%, and then transition colors. Now under this we will check is menu open is true. In that case we are going to render this X mark icon, and this X mark icon coming from the hero icon dependency that we have installed, and we will give the class name to this X mark icon, and the height of this icon will be 6 and width will be 6. Text color will be content with opacity of 80%. And then if the each menu is false or the menu is not open, then in that case we are going to show the bar icon. So specify here bars 3 icon, then specify class name, and then height will be 6, width will be 6, text color will be content with opacity of 80%, like this. Also import this bars 3 icon from the hero icons. Now let's go here and we can see here we have this bars icon. Why this bar icon? Because the is menu is a by default false. So in false case, it is going to show this bars 3 icon. If it is true, then it is going to show X mark icon. Now here to this button, specify on click, and in on click, just set the is menu value. So specify here set is menu open, and then it will be opposite to the current value of is menu open, like this. Let's refresh this one. Now click on this. You can see the icon changed to X mark icon, and when you again click on this, you can see the icon again changed to bars 3 icon. Now we need to implement this menu item. When we click on this, we need this menu item with the nav links and then this horizontal bar and the social icon. Let's create this. So below to this, let's create a mobile menu. Specify here is menu open, then in that case render the motion.dev, and to this motion.dev specify the class name, and on the medium and larger device it will be hidden, margin top will be 4, padding bottom will be 4, and then space of y will be 4. Also specify the initial and animated state. So initial equal to, then specify the opacity value equal to 0, and then y value equal to -10, and specify the animate position, and it will be equal to opacity equal to 1, and then y equal to 0. Now within this motion.dev, use the nav items dot map and grab each items from the nav items, and then render the a tag which is going to accept key, and the key will be equal to item dot name, then specify href which will be equal to the item dot href. Also specify on click, and this will be going to set the is menu value. So set is menu open value to false, and specify the class name, and it will be block, padding of x 4, padding of y 2, text content with opacity of 80%. On hover, text color will be changed to text primary. Also the background will be changed to hover bg white with opacity of 5%, and then this will be rounded lg transition colors, and next to it show the item dot name. Now click on this and we can see, go here and click on this. We can see this nav links or nav items. Now we need to specify here horizontal bar. Now after this curly braces, you see here, create a new div, and to this div specify class name, give a padding top equal to 4, border top, and then border color will be border white with opacity of 5%, flags gap of 4. Under this we are going to use the same social links. So go to up and copy all this from here, copy this one and then paste here, and now when you hover on it, we can see this is the social link. Now let's click any of the links and you can see this menu is automatically closed, and when we click on this bars icon, you can see menu appears immediately. Now we have successfully created our navbar, beautiful navbar with animation effect. So let's make it bigger. When we make it bigger, we can see it shows spinning logo with name. Then here we have the desktop navigation with nav links. When we hover on it, you can see a very smooth animation. And also here we have the social icon. And when we minimize it or make it to the size of mobile, you can see a mobile menu appears here. We can close this mobile menu by clicking on this X mark icon, and again open this mobile menu by clicking on this bars icon. We created this navigation bar for the desktop and the mobile view. Now next, let's create this hero section, and you can see this hero section has a two part. In the first part, we have the text, and in the second part, you can see we have the image card or avatar card with animation effect. Now I'm going to reload this page, and you just need to focus on the animation effect which is applied on this hero section. And now here, as you can see how the text section appears smoothly with animation effect, and also you saw that how the image appears with animation effect. So let's build this beautiful hero section. Go to your app, and within app go to page.tsx file, and below the name call the hero component, and below the name specify hero component that we are going to create. Let's create this hero section. Go to component, and in the component create a new file, and the file name is hero.tsx. And in this file create the component export default function hero, and then it is going to return section like this. Go back to the page.tsx file and import the hero from the add/component hero like this. And here we made a mistake. This s should be in small like this. Okay, now let's give a class name minimum height screen, which means it is going to take the height of the section to the full viewport. Then relative overflow hidden busy black. Within this section create a div and give a class name with max w7xl mx auto, and then padding x6, padding top 32. Within this div create a one more div, give a class name flags call. On a larger screen it will be flags row item center gap of 16. Now here we need to use the motion from the framermotion to apply the animation effect to the div for the text content. So here import the motion from the framermotion like this. And now, as you know, this framermotion component accepts a different properties that you can use to animate. So first thing, we need to specify the initial state of the animation. So specify here initial, and then equal to, and opacity will be 0 at initial, and then here we are going to animate the x position. So specify x, and it is equal to -50. So what this means, this sets the initial state of the animation with opacity of 0 and -50 pixel horizontal offset. Now specify the animate, which is the final state of the animation, and which is equal to the opacity equal to 1, and then x position will be 0 here. This defines the final state of the animation with full opacity and no horizontal offset. Now after this, we can specify the transitions property to apply a smooth transition, and then here the transition duration will be 1 second. And after that, we are also going to use the each function, and the each function will be ease out. So keep this in a single quote like this. Now after this, apply the class name, and it is a relative group on a larger screen. Set the width to 50% like this. As you can see, we get this error. Let's fix this error. Go to the top, and at the top specify use client like this. Remove this one from here, and now under this motion.dev, it's time to create the heading. If you look at this, this is the heading of the text content. So let's create this one. So to create this one, again here we're going to use the motion.h1. Let's apply some of the animation effect to this. So first, specify the initial state of the heading, which is equal to the opacity of 0, which means it will not be visible in initial state. Then specify the Y position, which is the vertical position, and this will be 20 pixel. And then specify the final position, which is the animate in this case, and then specify the opacity, which means at final position it will be completely visible. And then Y position is set to 0, which means vertical offset is 0 here. There is no vertical offset. Now let's apply the transition here, and here within transition specify the duration. So the duration will be here around 0.8 second, and also specify the delay, and delay will be 0.5. And here within heading I'm going to write full stack. Now you can see the text. Now let's apply the class name property, and here the text should be 6xl. Then on a medium it will be text 8xl, font bold, bg gradient to r, from primary, va secondary to tertiary. Then bg clip text, text transparent, and then margin bottom is 6. Now let's load this page and see, and now we can see we get the animation effect. So if we look at this and reload this one, as we can see it is coming from the x direction. So similarly we have animated here and it is coming from the x direction like this, you can see. So when I say x direction, that means a horizontal direction, and when I say y direction, that means a vertical direction. Okay. Now after this full stack, within this specify br to give a break like this. And now below this create a motion dot span, and now specify some of the animation state here. So here initial state will be opacity equal to 0 at initial, and then y will be 20, and then specify animate, and here in a final state the opacity will be full, which is equal to 1, and then y will be 0. And after that specify the transition. So here I'm going to copy all these from here and paste here. So here the duration will be same, but we will increase the delay because we want to appear this span after this heading. So when heading appears, after that we want to appear that span text. So for that increase the delay. So here the delay will be 0.8. And now here specify the text developer like this. Now apply a class name, and here bg gradient to r, from primary, va secondary, and then to tertiary like this. Then bg clip text, and after that text transparent like this. Now here you can see we have applied the animation, and as you can see the initial and animate property of the both the heading and this span is same. But if you look here at the transition, we have made a difference between the delay value of the transition of both of the heading and span. And let's reload this page. And now you can see first appear full stack, then appear developer. And that is because of the delay. If I change this delay value to something like a 2 second, and now reload the page, and you can see after 2 seconds the developer will appear. So this is how you can control the appearance of one element after another element. So again specify here 0.8. Okay, now let's create this paragraph. So to create this paragraph, below to this h1 specify motion.p. Here we are going to use all these animation property. So copy all these and then within a paragraph paste all those properties like this. And now here you need to change only the delay value and make the delay 1.1, which means this paragraph will appear after the developer. So here under the paragraph specify specializing in React, Node.js and cloud architecture. Then specify building scalable application with modern tech stacks. And now here specify a class name and give a text size to text XL. Then text color will be content with opacity of 80%, and also give margin bottom of 8. Now let's again reload the page, and you can see first appear full stack, then developer, and then this paragraph. Next, let's create this beautiful button. So below this motion.p specify motion.button like this, and then copy all these animation state or properties from here and paste to this button, and change this delay to 1.2 because this button will appear after this paragraph. And now specify the class name, relative, overflow hidden, padding x 8, padding y 4, and then rounded full, and give bg surface border, and border color will be border white with opacity of 10%. Then on hover the border will become primary color with 30%. Then transition all group. Now under this motion button specify pan, and here write a button label explore work. To this span specify the class name, text color content, group hover, text primary color, and then transition colors. Also when you hover on this button you can see this gradient color under the button. Let's apply that. Below to span specify self closing div, and then a class name absolute inside 0 bg gradient r from primary color with 10% opacity to tertiary color with 10% opacity. Then give opacity 0, and after that group hover, then opacity will become 100%. So when the user hover on this, the opacity will become 100%, which means it will be completely visible. And after that specify transition opacity like this. And now let's hover on this button. You will see gradient effect within this button. Now we need to apply one more animation effect, and when you hover on this button you can see it becomes large. So let's apply that. go to here in the motion button and then apply while hover property, and then it is going to scale the button to 1.05%, which means 105%, and also specify the transition and then give the duration of 0.2 second. And now let's hover on it. Now you can see it becomes little large. So we completed the text section of the hero section. Now it's time to create the second section, which is the floating image card with gradient overlay and animated border, you can see. So let's create this one. Below to this div, specify here image card and go to up here and specify here text content. Now here specify motion dot div and let's apply some of the animation effect here. Here specify the initial state of the image card, which is equal to opacity of 0, and then specify the x position or x direction to plus 50 pixel. Then final position of the animation, which will be equal to the opacity value 1, and then x position will be 0, which means to its original position where it should be. And then after that specify transition and specify the duration, and the duration will be 1 second with a delay of 0.5 second, and also specify each function, and the each function will be is out. Then give a class name. On a larger screen it will take the 50% of the width and it will be relative. Next, let's create a floating image with animation. So here specify floating animation, and then here specify motion.div, and under this motion.div specify the animation property. So here we want to animate the final position of the image or the animation, and which should be moving the image or the animation from 0 pixel to minus 20 pixel and then move back to the 0 pixel like this. Wrap the whole thing under the curly braces like this, and now we are gone. Then apply the transitions, and here again I'm going to explain this one. Here we are directly specifying the final state of the animation, and here we are saying in vertical direction start the animation from the 0 pixel, then move the animation to minus 20 pixel, then again move the animation back to the 0 pixel. And here specify the transitions, and here first thing specify the duration, it will be 6 seconds, and then repeat. We want to repeat this animation effect infinite time, so specify infinity. Then specify ease function, and which is a ease in out. So here this ease in out function means makes the movement start and end slowly. Now after this specify the class name, and it is a relative with full aspect square to maintain 1:1 aspect ratio, making the element square. Then rounded 3xl, and then specify overflow hidden, and we also want the border, so specify border, and the border color will be border white with opacity of 10%, and background color will be surface, and also backdrop blur, and the blur effect will be small sm. Now after this, within this motion.div specify image tag, and this will be self closing tag, and specify the properties. And now make sure that you import this image from the next image at the top of the file. Now come back to the image and here specify the path of the image that you want to show. So here specify src, and in my project I have added a image within this public folder, and this is the portfolio.jpg image. And if you want this image, go to my Git repository, and under the public you will find all the images that I have used. So this is the portfolio, and this is the analytics, e-commerce, and mobile images. So take all these images and go to your project and paste into the public folder as I have done. Now as a source, specify the path slash portfolio.jpg, and then specify the alt, and it will be avatar, then fill, and specify the class name, object cover, scale to 1:10, group hover. On hovering, scale this to 100, and then apply the transition transform duration of 500. Now let's zoom this, and we can see our image, and as you can see, image is floating up and down infinite times. Now let's apply the animated border like this you can see on this image. So let's go back above to this floating animation, specify here div, and grab this div and go to at the bottom of the file, and before this div paste that closing div like this. And now go to top, now go to the up, and here specify the class name and give it a relative with it full, and then aspect square group. Now after this, create a self-closing motion dot div like this, and then specify the initial state which is equal to the scale of 0.95, and then specify the animate position, and here the scale will be 1. Then specify transition, and within this specify the duration of 2 seconds. It is going to repeat infinite time, so specify infinity, and then specify the repeat type, and the repeat type will be mirror. Then under this specify the class name absolute, inset will be 0, rounded 3xl, then bg gradient r from primary with a 30% opacity, va secondary color with 30% opacity to tertiary color with 30% opacity, and also specify the opacity equal to 50%. Now after applying this animated border, we need to apply the gradient overlay. So just scroll down, and below to this image create a self-closing div, and to this div specify the class name, and it is a absolute, inset 0, bg gradient to top from black with opacity of 60% to transparent. Now below to this create a motion.div. This will represent the location text on the image. So here apply the animation effect. The initial state of the text will be invisible, which means specify the opacity equal to 0, and then final position or the final state of the text will be completely visible, so specify opacity to 1. Then also specify the transition property, and here the delay will be 0.6 second. Give a class name absolute, bottom 8, left 8, Then under this motion.dev, specify dev, give a class name with a Tailwind classes text 2XL font bold text color content. Under this div, specify paste in like this. And now specify here motion.span, then specify San Francisco CA. Now to this motion.span, specify the class name, which will be block bg gradient to r from primary color to secondary color. Also bg clip text, and then text transparent. And then after this, specify the animation properties or the animation effect. Specify here animate and then equal to, and here we want to animate the background position. So specify the property as a background position like this, and then within a square bracket specify the position 0%, 50%, to 100% and 50%. So this thing moves the background position from 50% to 150%, creating the sliding gradient effect. And after this, specify the transition and specify the duration of 3 seconds, repeat infinity, and then repeat type will be mirror. And then after that, specify the style, and here in the style, specify the background size, set the background size to 200% to the board dimension. So this ensures that the gradient covers a large area, allowing for a more noticeable sliding effect. So here we made a mistake because on mobile devices this image will not be visible. So let's fix this. Go to above. You see here motion.dev. So here absolute spelling is wrong. So specify here absolute like this. And now you can see the image will not be visible on the mobile devices. When your screen becomes larger, you can see your image is visible. And now you have the nice animation effect on this image chart, like it is floating up and down. Then when you hover on it, it scales down. Now one more effect is left, and that is the scroll effect. If you look closely on this image, when we scroll, we can say image is also going down when we scroll. So when we scroll down, image goes down. When we scroll up, you can see image is also going up. So how we can achieve this effect? We can achieve this effect using the same framermotion library. Let's do that. So here, first thing, we need the scroll position. So here, when we scroll down or when we scroll in vertical direction, we need the vertical scroll position, and when we scroll in horizontal direction, then we need a horizontal scroll position. So how we can get that? So for that, framermotion provide a hook, and that hook allows us to get the scroll position. Go here and specify const and grab the scroll y from the use scroll hook which exists in the framermotion. So framermotion provides a use scroll that gives the current scroll position. So we are grabbing the scroll y or destructing the scroll y value from the use scroll hook which represent the vertical scroll position. Now after that, we need to change this scroll value to a different value. So for that, this framermotion provide another hook called use transform, and using this use transform, we can transform one range of value to another values. So we are going to store the transform value into the y variable, and then here to use transform, pass the value whose value you want to change into another value. So in this case, it is the scroll current position of y. So specify scroll y like this. Now after this, we need to specify the mapping. So specify a square bracket, and here this means when the user scrolls from the 0 pixel to 500 pixel, then in that case map the value to 0 to 100. Overall, whenever the user scrolls from 0 to 500 pixel vertically, then the y value will transform from 0 to 100. This transform value can be used to create a scroll based animation. Now let's see how to use that. So here we have the scrolled value. Now just scroll down and go to the image card. So here this is the image card, and to this image card specify the style property, and as a style specify the y scroll value. Now when you apply the y value to this style property, this means the element will move vertically based on the scroll position. As the user scrolls down, the element will move down by 200 pixels. So this is how we can apply the scroll based animation. But right now we can't see that animation because we don't have any kind of content below the hero section. So we successfully created this hero section, but we have not implemented the functionality of a particle that you see behind this hero section, and we will implement this functionality at the end of this tutorial. Next, let's create this main component, and this is the section of web page that showcases the selected work. And you can see here it includes a section heading with a title and a gradient divider. Also, the section heading is animated using the framermotion. If we go up and scroll down, you can see it fade in and move up slightly when it comes into view. The component is structured to be responsive, visually appealing. Let's build this main component. Go to the app and go to page.tsx, and below this name specify the new component, and the component name is main component. So specify here main like this, and let's create this component. Go to component folder and create a new file and name this file main.tsx. In this file specify export default function, and the function name is main function. And then after this we are going to return a section. So specify here section tag like this. We get this error. To fix this error, go to page.tsx and import the main that we have created and import it from /component main. And now error is gone, and go back to the main.tsx file. Specify class name padding y32 relative, give id equal to work like this. Then within this section create a div container like this and give a class name with a mxw7xl, then mx auto to center this container horizontally, and padding of x6. And now within this div we are going to create the section heading. So specify here section heading like this. We also need to apply a animation effect to the section heading. So here we are going to use the motion.div like this, and then import this motion.div from the framermotion. Now to this motion.div specify the class name, give a flags call, item center, and margin bottom 20. And let's apply some of the animation effect here. So here specify the initial state of the animation, and here it will be opacity equal to 0, and then y value will be 20, which means it will be 20 pixel offset in vertical direction. Then specify here while in view. As you scroll and move to this section comes into view, and that will be the final state of the animation. And think like this one is like the animate property. So don't confuse, and specify here the final state, and here opacity will be equal to 1, which means when the section come into view it will be completely visible, and then y position will be 0. And also specify the transition property. So specify transition and give a duration of 0.6 second, like this. Within this, specify the h2 heading like this, and here specify the heading selected work like this. And here we get the error. Let's go up, and at the top of the file specify use client to remove that error. And now error is gone, and just scroll down. Here we have the heading selected work. Now give the class name to this h2 and make the size text for Excel. On a medium or larger screen, it should be text 5XL, font bold, and then text color would be content color, margin bottom will be 4, and then text will be in center. Now, after this heading, we need this gradient divider. Let's create this. So below to this h2, specify self-closing div and give a class name and specify width equal to 24, height equal to 1, then bg gradient to r, and the starting color will be from primary, which means the starting color will be a primary color, and then ending color will be tertiary color. So specify to tertiary like this, and then give rounded full. And now this is the gradient divider. Next, let's create this project section. So here below to this div, specify project grid like this, and then create a new div and give a class name, and it should be grade calls 1. By default there will be one column, then md grade calls 2, which means medium and larger screen will have 2 columns, and then specify lg grid calls 3, which means a very large screen will have 3 columns. After that, specify gap of 8 between the projects, then relative, and specify z index 10. Now here we will need to create a array of project. So let's go to the top, and here at the top specify const projects, and it is going to contain array of object. So here specify properties title, and the title will be e-commerce platform. So you can specify your own project, and then after this description, and then write here modern shopping experience with Next.js and TypeScript like this. And after this specify the tech stack. So right here tech, and then it is going to contain the array of a tech stack. So here specify name of the tech stack, and in this case it is the React. And then after that look at this, and here you can see we have the name of the tech and the icon of the tech. So specify here icon, then import the fa react from the React icons. So here we need to import the icons from the React icons. Now after that specify the color property, color of the each tag, and here specify H61DAFB like this. While creating project you can use a multiple tech stack, so specify the tech stack that you have used to build the project. So here I'm going to specify the second tech stack. So in this case I'm going to copy from here and then paste, and then again paste, and specify the name of the second tech stack. It is the Next.js, and then specify here icon, which is the si next.js, and it is coming from React icons library. So import it, and then specify the color. So here specify color code as a 00000 like this, and then specify the next tech stack, which is the Tailwind, and then specify the icon, which is the si Tailwind CSS. Remove this one and specify the color here, and the color will be 06B6D4. And now after the tech stack, specify the image of the project, and I have stored the image in slash projects, and then specify the name of the image, which is the e-commerce.jpg. I have stored this image under the public directory and then under the project directory. So go to GitHub and go to public. You will find all the images that I have used, and organize your images like this I have organized here in this project. I have two more projects, so I'm going to write those quickly here. You can see here I have the projects, analytics dashboard and mobile application. Import all these icons from the React icon one by one. Now after creating this array of projects, just scroll down and go to project grid. Under this div, we are going to use the projects and map this projects array, and here grab the each project with index I, and then we are going to render the each project here. So here we're going to call the motion.div. To this motion div, give a class name, which is the group relative, then height of 500 pixel, then it is the rounded 3xl, overflow hidden, then background color is a surface, border color will be white with opacity of 10%, and then on hover it should convert it into cursor pointer, and pass the key prop to this motion.div, and it will be to the index of the each project. And now error is gone. So here let's apply some of the animation effect. So first specify the initial state of the animation, and here in initial state the opacity value will be equal to 0, which means it will be completely invisible, and then y will be 50, and after that when you just scroll or it comes into view, we need to specify the final animation state. So use the while in view and then specify the opacity equal to 1, which means when it comes into view it will be completely visible, and then y will be 0. After this, specify the transition, and the duration will be 0.6, and then also delay, and delay will be based on the index of each of the project. So specify here I, then into 0.1 second. Now let's implement the image section. So below to this, create a motion.div. Now to this motion.div, give a class name and give a height of 250 pixel. And it should be relative. Now you can see the image section, and then under this motion.div, use the image and make sure this image is a self-closing tag, and make sure it is coming from the next image. So go to top and import image from next image like this, and then come back, and here we get the error. Let's fix that. So here first provide the source or path of the image that you want to show. So specify src and then project.image. And as you know, we have stored the image URL or image path in the image property of the project array. And after that, specify the alt, and it will be project.title like this. And then specify fill property, and after that specify the sizes, and then here specify max width, which is equal to 768 pixel, and after that 100 VW and 33 VW like this. Now give a class name, and it should be object cover, and after that specify the priority. Now scroll down, we don't see the image, so let's go fix this one. Let's go up, and here projects e-commerce.jpg. So let's go to the public directory, and here we have e-commerce.png. So this is the png file. Specify png like this, and now you can see the project image. Now let's go and see animation effect on the image. So when you hover on the image, you can see it scales up. So here under this motion.div of the image, specify the while hover property. So while hover, we want to scale it around 1.05%, which means 105%. And then also specify the transition, and here specify the duration equal to 0.2. And now let's hover on this and see. And now we get the same effect. Image scales up. Now after that, we need to create a content section that you see here. Let's create that. Below to this motion.dev, create a content section. So specify here content section like this. And then below to this, create motion.dev. Specify the class name, which is equal to padding of 6 and height equal to 25 pixel, and then background color is surface. Also specify the transition, and here give a duration of 0.3 second. And then under this motion.dev, create a new div, and to this div give a class name with a flags justify between item start margin bottom 4 group slash title like this. Then under this div, create a S3 heading and specify here project dot title like this. Give a class name to this S3. It should be text to Excel, font bold, and text color is a content like this. Then after this, use the arrow up right icon from hero icon. So specify here arrow right up icon from the hero icon, and then specify the class name. Height will be 6, width will be 6, and then text color will be content with opacity of 50%. And after that, on a group, hover slash title, then text color will be primary. After that, specify transition colors, and then duration will be 300. Now we need to specify the content. So after this div, below to arrow right icon, create a paragraph, and within a paragraph specify project dot description. And to this paragraph, give a class name, text, content, and then opacity will be 80%, margin bottom will be 4. Now after this paragraph, create a new div, and this div will show the text stacks. So to this div, give a class name, flags wrap, and gap of 2. And within this div, we are going to access the each text stack from the project.tag, and then map to each of the project stack, and grabbing the each tag with the index j, and then we are going to render the tag name and icon. So here specify the span, and under this span we will first use the tag icon. So specify here tag dot icon like this, and then we will use the tag name. So again specify here span, so specify the span, and under this specify the tag dot name like this. Now to this span, give a key, and the key will be equal to the index of the each tag stack. To this tag stack, give a class name, and here specify padding x3, padding y1, rounded full, then background will be white with a opacity of 5, and then text color will be content with opacity of 80%. And after that, text should be small, then border, and the border color will be white with opacity of 5. Then on hover, the background color will be surface, transition, colors, and then it will be flags item center and the gap of 1.5 and group slash tech. Also to this tech icon specify the class name and then give width of 4, height of 4 and transition colors. Then to this span give a class name and it will be group hover slash tech, then text center, then text color will be content, and then transition colors. As you can see here, we are not able to see the content and the tech icon. So we made a mistake. Let's go up, and here you can see we have specified the equal sign and it should be a dash. And now you can see the content and the icons. Now also we don't see the icon colors. So let's go and fix that. So under this tech icon, specify the style and then specify the color property and give a color as a tech dot color like this. And now just scroll down and we can see this nice tech icon with a color icon and name. Now when we hover on the image, we can see it scales up, but we want this effect. When we hover, you can see this project card also goes slightly up. This project card also moves slightly up around some pixel. So we need to achieve this effect. Let's again hover on this card and you can see it slightly moves up. So for that, let's go to the up and here under the projects.map, you see this motion.dev. So here you need to specify the property while hover and then we want to move the card slightly up. So for that here use the Y property because we want to move the card in up direction and give a minus 10 pixel. We want to move a little bit or 10 pixel. Then after this specify the transition and here transition duration will be 0.2 second. Now let's go. You can see when you hover on it, you can see it slightly moves up. But also we made a mistake and this icon is different from this icon. So let's fix that. Go to the icon and you can see here this is the arrow turn right. We don't need this arrow turn right up. So remove this one from here and instead of this specify arrow up right icon. And now we can see we have the right icon that we wanted. And let's make this bigger to the desktop size. And now you can see this is the beautiful project section showing all your project with project title and then description and with the tech stacks. Also when you hover on the image you can see it scales up and when you hover on the card you can see it slightly moves up around 10 pixel. After creating this project grid, we need to create this beautiful view all project button. So let's create this. Now just scroll down and come to at the end of file and you see here section and then this closing div and above this div we are going to create our view more button. So specify here view more button and then below to this create a motion.dev and to this motion.dev let's specify some of the animation property. So the initial state will be opacity equal to 0 and then y direction will be 20 pixel and after that specify while in which means it is the final state and in this case opacity will be 1 and the y direction will be 0 and now also specify the transition and give a delay property equal to 0.4. After that, specify the class name. It should be flags. Justify center, margin top 20, and it should be relative with a z index of 5. Now under this motion.dev, create a button, and here specify view all projects. Now scroll down and let's see the button. Okay, this is our button. Now let's style this button. So here specify class name and give a relative with padding x of 8, padding y of 3, then rounded full, and background color will be surface. And after that also give the border, and border color will be border white with 10% opacity, and on hover the border color will change border primary with opacity of 10%, and then give a transition all and apply the group. Now wrap this view all project under the span, so remove it from, specify here span, and under this span write the view all projects. To this span apply the class name, and then specify text color content, then specify transition colors, and it should be relative with z index of 1. Below to this span create a self closing div and give a class name, and it should be absolute, and inset will be 0, rounded full, background gradient to R, and the starting color will be from primary color, then ending color will be to tertiary with opacity of 10%, and also specify opacity to 0 on a group. However, opacity will be 100, and then give a transition opacity like this. Now scroll down. Now hover on it and we don't see the gradient color. So here we made a mistake. This should be absolute, so spelling is wrong. So make it absolute like this. And now when you hover on it, you can see the gradient color. And also you can see here the primary color does not look good. So here specify primary with opacity of 10%. And now hover on it. Now it looks good. Now let's make the screen larger to desktop, and we can see our beautiful main content which contains our selected project. And you can see this is the nice heading with a gradient divider, and here we have the project card with animation effect. Also here we have the button. When we hover on it, you can see the color changes to the gradient color. Now next let's see how to build this footer section. To create a footer section, go to the app, and under the app go to page.tsx, and below to main specify footer component that we are going to create. And now after this, under this component folder, create a new file and give file name as footer.tsx. And after this, under this file, specify export default function, and the function name is footer. And then after this function will return a footer like this. Now go to page.tsx and import the footer from the add component footer. Now go to footer.tsx, and to this footer give a class name, give a background gray with 900, and then border of top, and after that border color will be border gray 800. Now under this footer create a div, and to this div give a class name, max width 7xl, mx auto, padding x 4, on a small devices padding x 6, on a large devices padding x 8, and by default padding y will be 12. Now under this div create a one more div and give a class name to this div, specify grid, and then grid calls will be 1 by default, and medium and large screen grid calls will be 4 with a gap of 8. Now under this div, create a one more div, and under this div create a heading s3, and here write about, and then to this s3 give a class name, and the text will be large, font will be semi bold, text color will be white, and margin bottom will be 4. Now here we have the about, and then after this s3 specify paragraph, and here write building digital experiences that combine modern technology with exceptional design. And to this paragraph give a class name with a text gray of 400, like this. And now you can see this is the about section, and then below to this p we have the div tag, and below to this div tag create a new div tag, and under this div tag specify h3 again, and here give a heading as links, and to this s3 give a class name which will be text lg, font semi bold, then text white, and margin bottom will be 4. Then below to this div specify ul to create a unordered list, and then under this unordered list we are going to use the li which will act as a link. So to create the link we are going to specify a tag like this, and then specify here projects, this is the link. Then to this a give a class name, and specify text gray 400, and on hover text color will change to white, and then transition colors. Also give a href to this a tag, and which is equal to hatch projects, like this. Now after this copy this li, paste 2 times or 3 times, and now here you can see the links, and change this to about. So go here, write about, also make this one in small projects, and then here specify about, then change this one, change this to contact, and change the link title to contact, like this. And here to this you will give a class name, and we want space of y equal to 2. That's it. And now next just copy all this and paste it again here, and now change this link to legal, and after that change this projects to privacy, and change the title also to privacy, like this. And remove this one because we are going to use only 2 links here, and then change this one to hatch terms, and also instead of about specify here terms, like this. Now you can see here legal, privacy, and terms. Now again copy all this div, and then below to this paste again, and this time change this legal to connect, and after that here in the ul specify flags, and then from here remove this li, and remove also this one from here, and now also remove this href from here, and then specify here get hub icon, And then in the class name, specify height equal to 6 and width equal to 6, like this. Then remove this privacy from here, and also this one, make it a self-closing tag. Now after that, copy this one and paste 2 times, like this. And instead of your GitHub, specify LinkedIn icon. So this would be LinkedIn icon, and also change this to envelope icon. So specify envelope icon, like this. And now here we have the icons. You can see they are not aligned. So instead of here, specify, give space x and assign a x value 4, like this. Now after that, below to this div and above to footer, create a new div. And to this div, give a class name where it is going to have a border T or a border top, and the border color will be border gray of 800. Then margin top will be 12, padding top will be 8, and the text center. And under this div, specify a paragraph, and here write a John Smith dot all rights reserved, like this. And to this paragraph, specify class name, specify text, gray 400. Just scroll down and you will see here John Smith, all right and reserved. So from here, I'm going to grab this and cut from here and paste under this div, like this. And then again reload the page. Now it seems nice. Let's go here. We can see we have here the copyright symbol, and then we have the current date. So to get this, before this John, specify and copy and give a semicolon to insert that symbol. And after that, specify curly braces to insert the date. Here say new date, and it will grab the current date, and we need a full year. So specify here get full year function, like this. And now reload this page. We have here copyright icon and then current year. Let's maximize this, and now you can see this is the footer of the portfolio website. Now after this, one thing is left, and that is the particle effect that you see in the background of the hero section. So let's create that. Let's create this particle effect in the background of the hero section. To create this particle effect, go to the root of your project, and under the root of project, create a new folder and name this folder hooks. And under this folder, create a new file, name this file particle.tsx, like this. Now first we will create here a class name particle, and then here we'll define the properties and method of the particle. So here, as you can see on the screen, particle moving in a random direction or moving in a specific direction, such as moving in a horizontal direction, moving in a vertical direction. So for that, we will need to get the position of the particle or the position of each particle in the coordinate or in the canvas or of the area where the particle is moving. So for that, here define a variable x, and the type of the variable is a number. It is going to store the number, and then define the variable y, and the type of the variable is a number. So here this x represent the x coordinate of the particle or the x position of the particle in the canvas or in the coordinate. Similarly, this y represent the y coordinate of the particle in the coordinate or the vertical position of the particle in the canvas. Now we have the position. So after that, we need to move the particle in a specific direction with a speed. So for that, we will create a velocity, and here specify x of type number and specify y of type number. Now here, this X represent the movement and direction of the particle. So here this X means moving the particle in horizontal direction, which means moving the particle in a left and right direction. And this Y represent the moving the particle in a vertical direction, such as moving from top to bottom or bottom to top. Now after this, define the radius of the particle, or this is the size of the particle, and the type is number. And then also define the color of the particle and type is string. So here you can see on the screen the size of the particle is very small, and also you can see the color. So we will need this property to define the particles. Now after that, we need to use the constructor. So whenever we create a new particle, the default value will be provided automatically, and then pass the parameter ctx and specify the type, and type is canvas rendering context 2D. And now within this constructor, we need to initialize the values of the each property that we defined within this particle. So first we will get the random x and y position of the particle. So for that, here specify this dot x, which is equal to math dot random, and then multiplied by ctx dot canvas dot width. And then after this, specify this dot y, which is equal to math dot random into ctx dot canvas dot height. Now let's understand this line of code. So here, this line of code set the x property to a random number between 0 and the width of the canvas. And how it works? So here we have used the math.random function, and this function generates a random number between 0 and 1. And then this is multiplied by the canvas width that we have accessed using this ctx.canvas.width to get the random x coordinate within the canvas. And what it does, why we use it, it gives each particle a random starting horizontal position. And the same applies to this y. This gives each particle a random starting vertical position. So here we use the same function math.random and then multiply by the height of the canvas. Now after this, we need to provide a random direction and speed to the each particle. So here access the this dot velocity, and here it is equal to, and within this curly braces specify the x, and here use the math dot random function and then subtract 0.5, and after that multiply the whole thing by 2. Similarly specify the y, and we are going to use the same concept here. So copy and paste it. Now what is happening here? So this one sets the velocity property to an object with a random x and y values between -1 and 1. So how it works? So here we use the math.random minus 0.5. This generate a number between -0.5 and 0.5. And then multiplying by 2 gives a range of -1 to 1. Similarly, for the y, we use the math.random minus 0.5, which gives a random number between -0.5 to 0.5, and then multiply by 2, it gives the range of -1 to 1. So here, to give each particle a random direction and speed, we have used this concept. Now after this, we need to initialize the size of the particle. So specify here this dot radius, which is equal to math dot random and then multiplied by 1.5 plus 0.5. So this line of code sets the radius property to random number between 0.5 and 2. And how it works? So here math dot random into 1.5 generates a random number between 0 and 1.5. Then adding a 0.5 shifts the range to 0.5 to 2. Why we use it? To give each particle a slightly different size. Now after this, let's define the color. So here specify this dot color, which is equal to, and then specify RGBA, and within a bracket specify dollar, then curly braces. And now here specify math dot random, which is multiplied by 100 plus 155, which represent the red color. Then after this, specify the comma, and again copy this whole code and paste it for the green, and then again specify the comma and paste it for the blue color. And after this, specify the comma, specify the alpha as a 0.1, like this. So here we use the color RGBA. So here the first value is the red color for the particle. The second value is for the green, you can see here. So we again use the same concept. Third is the blue color, and then after this one is the alpha, which you can see here after the blue color, and this alpha represents the opacity of the color. So here it generates the random RGB values for a color with an alpha transparency value of 0.1. So it gives each particle a unique semi-transparent color. And remember, the color will be semi-transparent white color. You can see here on the screen. Now we have defined our particle properties, and then we initialize the particle properties with a random values. After defining a particle property, we need to also define the method. Here define the method update, and this method will be called on the each particle. So here this accepts CTX, and the type is canvas rendering context 2D. Remove this one off a screen. So this update method takes the canvas rendering context 2D object as a parameter. And this method is responsible for updating the particle position. So under this update method, specify this dot x to update the particle's x position, plus equal to then this dot velocity dot x. Similarly, specify here this dot y to update the y position of the particle, which is plus equal to this dot velocity dot y. So here this line updates the x property by adding the x component of the velocity. How it works? It increments the particle x coordinate by its x velocity, moving it horizontally. Similarly, here we have used the y. So what it does? It updates the property by adding the y component of the velocity. And how it works? It increments the particles coordinate by its y velocity and moving it vertically. Now after this, we need to check if the particle hits to the boundary of the canvas. So you can see here on the screen, this is the horizontal boundary and this is the vertical boundaries. So if the particle hit to the boundary, we need to apply a concept here so it bounce off the edges of the canvas. So for that, here check if this dot x is less than 0 or this dot x is greater than ctx canvas dot width, then bounce off edges of the canvas. So specify here this dot velocity dot x multiplied by -1, like this. Similarly, copy this for the vertical. So paste here, and instead of x specify here y for the vertical, and also change this to y. So here this line checks if the particle has gone off the left or right edge of the canvas. If it has, it reverses the x component of the velocity by multiplying the number -1. Similarly, it checks If the particle has gone off the top or bottom edges of the canvas, then it reverses the y component of the velocity by multiplying the number -1. So overall, this made the particle bounce off the edges of the canvas in a horizontal and vertical direction. After creating this update method, we need to create one more method, and this method will draw the particle on the canvas. So specify here draw and then ctx canvas rendering context 2D like this. Then specify ctx dot begin path. Here this line or this function begin path start a new path. It tells the canvas to start a new drawing path, so the current drawing does not connect to the previous one, to ensure that each particle is drawn as a separate shape. Now after this, specify ctx dot arc and then to this function pass the this dot x, this dot y, and then this dot radius, and then specify 0 as a starting angle, and then end angle will be math dot pi multiplied by 2. Now this ctx.arc function accepts the x position, y position and the radius of the particle to create a circle. So to create a circle, it takes the starting angle as 0. After that, it takes the end angle, which is the full circle. Here you can see 2 is multiplied by pi value, which means it is a complete circle. So overall, it draw the particle as a circle. After this, we need to color the particle. To color the particle, here use ctx dot fill style, and it is equal to this dot color to fill the color of the circle to the particle color. Then after this, call the ctx dot fill, and this one is responsible for filling the circle with the fill color. So just call this one. After this, let's create a particle canvas component to render a particle animation. So specify here export function, and the function name is particle canvas. And then first thing, we need to use the useref to create a particle variable which will reference to the array of particles. So here specify const particles and then useref and specify the type as a array of particle, and this particle we have created above. And after this, by default it will have empty values. And after this, specify draw, and this draw is the function, and this function will initialize the particle, clear canvas with tail effect, update and draw particles. So here we are going to use the use callback, and then as a parameter pass the convex rendering context to the object. So specify here canvas rendering context 2D, and then we are going to perform several operations here. So first we will initialize particles. So here we will check if particles dot current dot length is equal to 0, then in that case we are going to create a new particles. So specify here particles dot current equal to array dot from, then here the length will be equal to 50. So we will create a new 50 particles, and then which is going to call the particle object by passing ctx to it. After creating particle, clear canvas with a trail effect. So here specify ctx dot fill style. There is something wrong. It should be canvas. So specify here a, and now here again specify dot fill style, and specify the RGBA color red 10, green 10, blue 10 with alpha or opacity is 0.05. Now after this, fill the color ctx fill rect, and then specify 0 0 ctx dot canvas dot width and ctx dot canvas dot height. So overall, these two lines sets the fill color of the canvas to semi-transparent dark color and fills the entire canvas with the fill color, creating a trailing effect. After this, update and draw particles. So here specify particles dot current dot for each particle. We are going to grab each particle here. Then we are going to call the update function for the each particle, and also call the draw function for the each particle. So overall, this one iterate over each of the particle and then call the update function to update the position of each particle, and then call the draw function to draw each particle on the canvas. Now after this, we need to create a gradient connection lines. So here specify create gradient connection lines, and you can see here on the screen each of the particle has a gradient connection lines whenever they come closer to each other. So if you look closely at this screen, you can see when two or more particles comes closer to each other, a line is created between them. So for that, here first we need to define the stroke style. So specify here ctx dot stroke style, and which is equal to rgba, and then specify 255 255 and 255, and after that specify opacity 0.02. Then after this, start the for loop. Let I equal to 0, I is less than particles dot current dot length, then I plus plus. So here is the error. Remove this one and specify semicolon. So what this for loop do? This for loop start a loop that iterate over each particle in the particle array, and within this loop start another loop. Let j, which is equal to the index of the I, then j is less than particles dot current dot length and j plus plus. So here this loop start the nested loop that iterates over each particle in the particle array starting from the current index of the outer loop. So why we use this second loop? We use the second loop to avoid drawing duplicate lines to optimize performance. Now after this, we need to calculate the difference in the x coordinate between the two particle. So for that, under this nested loop or in a second loop, specify const dx, which is equal to particles dot current dot x minus particles dot current z minus dot x. Similarly, we need to compute the difference between the y coordinate of the particles. So here just copy this one and paste here and change this to y, and also this one to y, and this one too. Overall, these two lines calculate the distance between the 2 points in x coordinate and in the y coordinate. So if you have confusion here, let me explain it in detail. So what it does, it subtracts the x coordinate of the second particle from the x coordinate of the first particle. Similarly, it subtracts the y coordinate of the second particle from the y coordinate of the first particle. So this is how the distance between two particles is computed. After this, we need to compute the Euclidean distance to draw the line. So specify here const distance, which is equal to math.sqrt function, and then pass the dx into dx plus dy into dy. So this is the mathematical function which accept the dx and dy to compute the Euclidean distance between two particles. Overall, this formula is called Pythagorean theorems, and which is the 10th class math. Now after this, we will check if the distance between two particles is less than 100. Then in that case, we are going to start a path. After that, specify ctx, move to, then specify here particles dot current height dot x, then particles dot current j dot y. So this line means move the starting point of the part to the coordinates of the first particle. Then specify ctx dot line 2 and specify here particles dot current jth index of x, then particles dot current jth index of y, and this line means add the line to the path from the starting point to the coordinates of the second particle. And after this, call the ctx dot stroke. This one, draw the lines on the canvas. So this is the stroke path. Now after that, scroll down and here close the use callback hook and then pass the empty array as the second argument. That means draw function will only be created once when the component is first rendered. Then after this, specify const canvas ref equal to use canvas and then pass the draw function. And right now we don't have this use canvas, so let's create this one. Go to in your hooks folder. In the hooks folder, create a new file and name this file use canvas.ts. And now after this, you need to go to my repository and make sure you choose the master branch from here. And after that, you will see here the hook folder, and within hook folder, you will see use canvas.ts file. So from here, you need to copy all the code, and after copying all the code, just come back and paste into the use canvas.ts file that you have created like this. And now go back to the particle.tsx file and then import this use canvas hook. Now after this, specify return function and then under this call the canvas, which is a self closing. Then within this specify ref, which is equal to canvas ref that we created, and also give a class name and then specify absolute inset 0 width full, height full, pointer events none, and then specify opacity equal to 20 like this. Now let's go up, and here we made a mistake. This one should be I, so remove this j and specify I here. Now let's go to our hero component. So here this is the hero component. Above to this div, which means here just call the particle canvas that we have created. Now import it from add hooks slash particle. Now let's go and see, and here we have our particle effect that you can see. Let's reload the page. So as we can see here, this particle effect is above this hero component, but we need to specify, or we need to set this as a background. So let's go to the particle canvas and just scroll down, and here the absolute spelling is wrong, so specify here absolute like this. And now let's go up, here we have the effect. Let's reload the page, and there is something wrong, let's fix that. Okay, to fix that error, let's go to the hero page and analyze, and here you can see the relative spelling is wrong, so here specify relative like this. Now our hero component has a particle moving effect as a background, you can see. After this, let's go to the app and then go to layout.tsx, and then here change the title of the website and specify here John Portfolio, and then remove the description and specify here created by John Smith. Now after this, let's change the screen size to desktop or maximize it and reload the page again. So as you can see, we have the modern design portfolio, and this portfolio contains a bunch of animation effect in the navbar that you can see, in the hero section that you can see. Also you can see here the image is floating, and then here in the project section. So I hope that you understand how to create a portfolio website, how to use the framermotion to apply the animation effect on the website, and also you learned about a lot of things, how to create a component like a hero, navbar, and footer. So at last I want to say, don't forget to subscribe my YouTube channel, and thank you.